first thing you gotta do is you have to be intentional about that culture. You have to develop the culture first, and then you hire for that culture. And you have to guard that culture with your life, basically, because it is the most important element of your labor.
The reason this conversation got started is, you guys are talking about employee retention. We're a big advocate of customer retention. So for me, this was like a no-brainer. It's like, and also labor
Yeah.
obviously being a big component within the restaurant industry, and it's just going to continue getting worse. You open a restaurant, you hire 50, 60 people. 3 months later, half of them are gone. 6 months later, 70% of them are gone. And a year later, almost all of them are gone. And now
Exactly.
the burger that came with, I don't know, cheese and tomatoes now no longer comes with cheese and tomatoes, and it's mushrooms and something else, right? Because one person is training the next one, the next guy is training the next guy, and after fourth iterations, the training material is all just gone. So give us some tactical ways and strategic ways, both to help resolve these issues. And again, you guys, so we're a big customer data advocate. We use the customer data to make a lot of decisions, and it sounds like Zippy app on the other side is doing the exact same thing, but doing it for employees. So run us through how these restaurants can avoid some of these pitfalls. What should they do in order to improve that culture? Some things that they can do today now to improve the culture, to improve the hiring process, to reduce the churn of employees in that restaurant.
Very good question. What we really focus on is developing what we call an employer brand. And think of it this way. When somebody is looking, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what is a brand? So define the brand, because I'm going through that process myself. I'm trying to define a company brand for the customer facing. But tell us what an employee, what would that brand look like in front of an employee? Give us some examples.
Exactly. Yeah. And imagine a job seeker. Somebody is looking for a cashier, server, cook, whatever the job may be. Looking for that kind of a job. And there's a big difference if that person goes to various places, whether it's job boards, wherever they may be looking for a job, whether they're searching for a job or searching for a particular brand. Okay. And that is a big difference. If they know you, and these jobs are local jobs, nobody would want to work at a restaurant that is 50 miles away. They're usually working at a restaurant because of its proximity to their other aspects of life. So these are local jobs, and local jobs basically attract the local talent. That talent sort of, if you look at it from a distribution perspective, starts at a 5 and then it tapers off at 25. So it's way out there if you're looking at 50 miles. So the local work community or the talent pool that is available has to be aware of what you're offering as an employer. Okay. And guess what? These workers run into each other at different places. So they talk about, where else they work and so on. So building an employer brand is really establishing a reputation where somebody says, yes, I want to work at this place. Okay. And it could, people say that, oh, I'm a franchisee and I don't have any control over the main brand. But yes, you do. You can be recognized as the employer of choice in that community of that particular brand. And, we see that organizations that spend a lot of time actually developing that employer brand, their retentions are much, much higher. When they advertise, they get far better quality candidates. Their hiring costs are lower, and their profitability is higher. So some of the brands that come to mind, Starbucks, Chick-fil-A, these are organizations that have worked extremely hard at developing an employer brand. So when somebody goes and looks for a job in a local area, they look for these brands by name. They don't look for a barista. They don't look for a team member, crew member,
They're searching
cashier
like
or whatever.
Starbucks
They look
jobs.
specifically, exactly. They
Yeah.
look for Starbucks. They want to see if there is a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A hiring in their community. Okay. So they go to Google, literally. They go to Google and search for Starbucks jobs near me, Chick-fil-A jobs near me, and imagine what difference it makes in your hiring practices if you are well known
So that's an
for
advantage, I
in
guess, for the
that.
franchisees. But if you're a brand, 10 locations, 5 locations, how do you compete? What do you do to build that brand? What are the top 3 things that a brand should do to be able to start building that employee brand?
Number one is culture.
Okay,
See,
tell us
there
more.
are,
Like how, what?
okay,
Like culture is a little bit vague. Like
it
throw
is vague,
parties every
but
night, or what is that? What does that culture mean?
I mean, it really comes down how you treat people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it is just because somebody is a dishwasher, you know, there is no difference between them and the GM or the partner, if you call them, if you're full service restaurant. And it is something that people gravitate towards. People want to look forward to come to work versus, oh my God, I gotta
I
go to
gotta go to
work
work.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. So respect employees,
Respect employees
treat them
and
well.
right. And the important thing is, first thing you got to do is you have to be intentional about that culture. You have to develop the culture first, and then you hire for that culture. And you have to guard that culture with your life, basically, because it is the most important element of your labor. Okay. And that culture, once you understand and develop that culture, then that culture has to be amplified through everything you do. And that means through your job descriptions. Okay. We just did a full revamp of the entire recruitment process for one of our clients. And based on the culture that we developed, we actually changed their job descriptions. Okay. From a simple team member, we changed, I cannot disclose that information, but we changed that job description to something a lot more appealing that communicates to the potential job seeker what this job is about. This is not about you flipping burger. It's about providing a service, providing an enjoyment for the customer. Okay. And that's why Chick-fil-A is successful. Chick-fil-A is providing an experience. It is as a QSR level, Chick-fil-A is providing an experience. Okay. It is not just a chicken sandwich.
Sure, you could get a
Okay.
chicken sandwich
Starbucks
anywhere,
is
but
providing,
yeah.
yeah. So that's what first needs to get developed, that culture of what are you about? What is this business about? Okay. And every entrepreneur, when they start a business, yes, they do think about, okay, does this business make money and all of that? But you have a vision in mind in actually delivering an experience to your client. their customer. When you develop whatever it is, whether it is hamburger, chicken sandwich, burrito, steak, fish, whatever it is, you as an entrepreneur who's building this, you have an experience in mind. And it is the staff that is delivering that experience.
That's
Isn't
correct.
that
And if that
correct?
breaks, yeah, if that
Delivering,
link breaks, then yeah, then that's gonna
then
be yeah.
you don't have it.
Yeah, and it's a
So,
restaurant industry is really tough because the food has to be 100% spot on, the staff have to be 100% spot on, the
yes,
service, and three of the biggest complaints that anybody has, including myself, is one, I wait too long. Two, I waited too long to be seated. I waited too long to order my food, and I waited too long to pay for my food. And those are all service related. You could make
yes,
that experience different by just simply training your staff. And if you're constantly turning over, then good luck training
yeah.
somebody to constantly try to take care of that guest.
Just imagine you may be serving the best steak, best piece of fish, but if the service is bad, the customer forgets about how wonderful that piece of fish tasted. The service was bad. My server, didn't respect me. And that all of that energy that you put in delivering that beautiful piece of meat, beautiful piece of fish, is gone because the service was bad. Okay, and on the flip side, when they actually get a wonderful service, they actually can let go of maybe a bit of imperfection in the food.
I was about to
The
say
the
that, yeah.
server the server can compensate in a huge way a little bit of lower quality or a mistake that happened in their service, in
People are
their
more
order.
forgiving on the quality of the food, but they're not as forgiving on the customer service side.
Quality.
Because because
Exactly.
the food, and actually it goes back to that emotional touch. People
Yes,
remember how you made them feel, but they may
that's
not
a Maya
remember the
Angelou.
taste of the food. So
Exactly. That's what
all
Maya
right,
Angelou
culture.
said.
There you go. Yeah. So culture number one: treat them with respect. Create a fun, playful environment where they enjoy to come in
Professional.
and work.
It
Yeah,
doesn't, yeah, it
professional.
has professional, yeah. And,
Don't treat them like, hey,
and
you're a
caring.
flipping burger or you're a dishwasher, so
Yeah,
you're less than me, etc. What's the number two thing?
exactly.
So what's the second thing?
Number two thing is really hiring for that culture. Because once you actually have the culture, then, as I mentioned, you really need to guard that culture with your life because you are spending valuable energy developing that. And you want to actually select the right people that fit that culture. That is something that when you have that culture, you are not always behind the eight ball in hiring so that you're short-handed and you're hiring out of desperation. Once you have that employer brand that people want to work for you, people actually gravitate towards your organization. People come in and say, "Hey, I want to work here," versus you hiring somebody. You're short-handed for this shift. The first warm body that comes in, you hire them. The moment you're actually in that mode of operation that you're desperately hiring, your culture is going out the door.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay.
So that one's a lot easier. So hiring for the culture is a lot easier. You hire people that are personable, people that fit the energy level of your organization, etc. So the culture was difficult. This one's a lot easier. So I like the the path
Yeah,
we're going. What's the third
yeah.
thing?
The third one is again investing in employees. You really have to have a process where employees feel they are improving or they're getting better, they're making progress. Okay. So nobody wants to be stagnant. Okay. So you need to have a real, even in a restaurant, you want to have a career path And that is, again, a very important part of the culture because people want to see where I can go. If you see that you are, for the rest of your career here is you're going to be flipping burger. But if you actually look at what can be next in 5 years, it might not be even in your organization, but if you stick with the food service industry, in 5 years you can be area manager of a larger group, something. So you actually invest in developing a career path who people want to work, stay in the food service industry. That's one of the biggest challenges that food service industry has. Food service industry views as workers as very temporary. Okay, they come and go. But the challenge is they're not getting motivated that this is really a career path. So building, and once you have all of these three components that I talked about, communicating that this is who we are, communicating that becomes an extremely important element, and once you have the talk and you really walk the talk, then people take notice. And that's when the reputation, employer of choice, comes in. When people are treated correctly, they enjoy that work environment, when they see that there is a career path, when they go to their job, because people usually have two or three jobs, unfortunately, in this
Yeah,
industry.
we'll touch base on that
Guess
too.
yeah, guess what they talk about? Where else do you work? Guess what do prep cooks talk about when they're chopping salad or doing whatever it is that they're doing? So where else do you work? How is it? And what do you want to be known as? Man, you don't want to go there, or man, they're really good.
Yeah, and nobody wants to work for a arrogant, type in
Exactly.
boss. So I think the culture starts from the top, just being
It does.
personable, approachable, setting up a friendly environment. Obviously everybody has the same goal. They're there to earn a living, to be able to provide for their family just like you. And I agree with your last point that you cannot underestimate and not give a career path to your employees just because you're a fast food chain. And I'll give you a prime example. It happened day before yesterday. I was at a Jimmy John's conference, and one of the franchisees there was there with another gentleman, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he's managing da 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 da." And I was talking to him for a couple of hours. We were having drinks, etc. And as we were talking, I asked, like, how did he fit into the picture, etc. And he's like, look, when he joined, he was completely off the walls. Like, I was like, he's got no path in here. Like, how is he gonna like survive, right? But today, now, he actually manages the restaurants, not just one, and he's given him a path to become an owner in that operation.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
he's like, I am so glad I stuck through with it. And sometimes you just gotta nurture your employees. So that's one example. And Kendall Ware is one of our board members, and I listened to an interview of him when he was young. So he's younger than me. So I think he was in his probably mid 20s. And one of the interviews he did, I think back in the day, he worked for Orange Leaf, and he's like, look, we know that we're hiring teenagers. We know that we're hiring high school people. And instead of fighting the battle, let's just embrace it. Let's give them a path to say, hey, you work at Orange Leaf now. Yeah, you're making minimum wage, but you're a high schooler. Who cares? However, if you excel, if you do this, we'll pay for your tuition. So they, I think, implemented an option to do that. And they had seen some people that actually came back after graduation and started a franchise in Orange Leaf, right? Because they became loyal to the brand.
Absolutely. I have many examples. Chick-fil-A is one of our larger clients. We've been a partner with Chick-fil-A for many years. And, you know, it's one organization that you can actually start as a team member, and they promote this and become a Chick-fil-A franchisee. Okay. In not an enormous amount of time, very quickly, if you put your heart and soul into it, you can become a Chick-fil-A operator. I don't know how many years, but in
You have the
not
path
double
at
digit.
least.
You have the path. You have the
Yeah.
path. And it is very important to communicate that path. And that is true in every franchise operation. I have seen many successful franchisees who started as a team member, who started as a cashier, and they built the organization. I mean, they built themselves. They contributed to the organization, and
And who better than that?
exactly, exactly.
They know the company, they know the organization, they can manage it. They've clearly shown that they're capable of stepping up, and those are the people that will be more successful, that they will be able to put up with all the hardships. Because running an I just made this post, and the content was like, just running a business is really difficult. Being an entrepreneur, leaving a safe job to start this is very difficult. So it takes a special, unique set of individuals to get into that space. And yeah, who better than those who are already familiar with your brand, those who have already learned the processes, and it makes your life so much easier as a franchisor if they are your franchisees. And if you're a franchisee, just like this Jimmy John's example, why not embrace them so you could promote them, give them a ownership stake in that restaurant, and go open another one, expand your operation, and you keep rinse and repeating that process. Then there is your prime path to growth that makes it's a more stress-free growth on that front.
And see, this is intentional. It doesn't happen by accident. It is something that you have to sort of sit back as an entrepreneur and say, this is how I am going to treat people. This is how I'm going to develop my next level of leaders. This is how I'm going to take somebody from a team member, from a cashier, whatever it is, the the entry level position. How do I take somebody at the entry level and groom them and grow them to become an operator, an owner operator of this kind of business? That mentality, then your actual work takes on a completely different meaning and completely different sort of practice every day. You really look at, is this step that I am taking aligned with that goal?
Makes sense.
We have done many studies, how long an engagement it should be, what questions to ask. People immediately ask, do you have any felony backgrounds? That's the worst question you can ask. One of the biggest challenges that employers face today is people don't show up to interviews. We have reduced no-shows by as much as 80% in the restaurant industry. This is really a game changer.